welcome back to the Angry Dave podcast. I'm Dave, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite time of year, which is the baseball playoffs are coming up here in September, along with the NFL football season. If you know me, you know I'm a big sports fan, and Philly sports is my John. And, the Eagles season coming up is exciting, and the Phillies are making a playoff run again this year. So that's exciting. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the state of Philly sports and my opinion on the state of Philly sports. And also coming up, right now was today on August 27th when I'm taping this episode. I had my first fantasy football draft. Another fun part of the year. I'm in two live leagues that I have been in for a really long time, and I am actually doing a online Yahoo league this year with some other guys that I know. But I just start off by talking about some of the most annoying things in fantasy football. So this is my time to goof on some of my friends in my particular league that I had run for a long time. I sort of stepped down away from running it a couple of years ago. I am helping out a little bit this year, but it's nice to just be a part of the league and not running it anymore. Some of my friends, Stevie Bananas in particular, thought that I was going to have a hard time with letting go. I have not had a hard time with letting go. It has been very rewarding to just be somebody who just sends the money and doesn't really deal with anything else. So anyway, we're going to talk about the annoying habits of some of my fantasy football mates. Number one, the guy that's never ready to pick. There are several people that I could name, but one comes to mind. Very intelligent young man, Josh Sable, who is never ready to make his pick. It doesn't matter if he drafts 12th and has 45 minutes in between picks. He still has to agonize over his pick for 5 and 10 minutes every single time. And if he is live at the draft, he'll have to go up and look at the stickers as if they're going to change, and then go back to his printout of all his players and look at that a few more times. So he makes sure he gets the precisely perfect pick, because he didn't have enough. That 45 minutes just wasn't enough to work it out in his mind. He needs more time. Then there's another person who's near and dear to my heart, Uncle Ron Dalton, who's probably been in our league about 10 years and has probably made 2 trades in those 10 years. And oftentimes has the most money left over at the end of the year in his free agent money. Ron, I love you, buddy. Thank you for being in the league. Part of being in a fantasy football league is to act like a GM and to trade and to try to make your team better during the year by picking up free agents and bidding on them. You may want to do that this year. Okay, cool. Then there's another guy near to my heart. I've known him for quite some time. Very nice lad. Very nice man. Mike Young, who I look at his draft every year, and it always looks like he's going to have a good team. Sometimes he does, and sometimes, but most of the time, after like a 1-2 start, or even sometimes a 2-1 start, Mike decides to trade his whole goddamn team away and annoys the shit out of everybody in the league, because everybody thinks, Mike doesn't get the best deal all the time, and sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. It's a little bit overblown, but they all get mad because he's always trading good players away, and they're not getting the good players, and other guys are getting the good players. I don't know. Who knows? But Mike, would you at least wait until week 5 to trade your fucking team away, please? Okay? Slow to roll, pal. Love you. Or the Brett McLaughlins of the world. Brett, who's the fisherman, who sends you text messages like, "Are you interested in," name the guy, and you say yes, and then you say, "What do you want for him?" He says, "I got to think about it," and then he never gets back to you. Or you send him a trade offer, and he says, "I'm interested." I said, "You want me to put it through?" He says, "I got to think about it," and then he never gets back to you. Brett, you're the guy where an idea dies of loneliness. For the God's sake, buddy, just make a decision. I love you. You're a sweetheart. I want to hug you. I miss you. But fuck, make a decision, you jitbag. Or how about Stevie Bananas, my good friend, my lifelong friend, who sends you trade offers for three guys that are sitting on his bench for your best player, for three guys that you can't use, that if he actually looked at your roster and saw that all three of those guys would be bench players, but they're good players. Yeah, that's great, Steve. They're good players. I can't use them. I don't. Yeah, she send me 72 players that sit on my bench. The fuck am I going to do with them? Stop that. You look at my roster, look at your roster, see what I need and see what you need, and that's how you do a trade. Not three dudes you don't want for my best guy. I don't care what they're ranked. I can't use them. I hate those trade offers. Or the guy that he's trying to get over on you. Give me your first round pick for this guy I'm not going to keep. Timmy, little Tim, baby Tim, Tony Macaroni. Actually, me and Mecca actually have good trades all the time, but people do complain about Mecca. The way that he tries to, they feel like they try to get over on him. Vidro gets complained about sometimes on that too. I don't know. I've never had a problem with them, but there's the guys but Timmy tried that with me this year. First round pick for a dude he's not going to keep. I shit on that trade request. Shit on that trade request. Love you, Tim. Or how about the guy at the draft that always got to say, "Oh, nice pick. Oh, that's a really good pick. That's really great value there. Great value." Who the fuck are you? Mel Kiper? Shut the hell up. Nobody cares about your opinion. Guy that finished sixth for 7 straight years. Fuck you. How about the guy that says, fuck, I was going to pick him. Oh, you fucking fuck my draft up again. You do it to me all the time. You do it to me all the time. Dude, your pick's not for 10 picks. Shut up. You could have picked him 2 picks ago. You fucking bag of dicks. Bag of dicks. Bag of dicks. Or the dude, Junior does this sometimes. He'll pull out like 32 statistics that nobody gives a shit about. Well, did you know that on Thursday nights in Eastern Time Zone, this guy was a 100-yard rusher 100% of the time? I don't fucking care about those stats. I'm looking at a goddamn list that I got off the internet that I compared with some other lists and put them together for one list, and I'm picking players off a fucking list. That's what we all do. Would you shut up? Nobody cares about these sophisticated stats. It's fantasy football. I'm paying $200 to fucking fuck with my friends. Ugh. Nobody cares. Or the dude that talks about how he's great in his other league. You know that guy? Well, in my other league, I mean, I know I suck in this league every year, but in my other league, I'm the 5-time defending champion, and I have the greatest roster ever, and I picked 5th, and I got the best player in the draft, and I'm the best, and this guy's stupid, and you should have seen this trade last year from this guy. Nobody cares about your other league. Nobody cares about your other league. Or how about my old buddy Frank? Frank used to help me run my fantasy football league, but then he moved on to bigger and better things and bigger and better jobs in a different community. But Frank used to get drunk off his ass by like the third round, and then he was about incoherent by the eighth. And he was fucking just a fucking enormous pain. And he'd bust people's balls. You have no idea what he was saying by the end of it. He'd be talking fucking gibberish. And then the asshole won the league like 3 times. And half the time from like pick 8 to fucking 16, he had no idea what he was doing. He literally just fucking grabbing stickers. Luckiest son of a bitch ever. I love you, buddy. Or the dude who starts picking guys that have been chosen. I made a rule about that eventually because I got tired of that. He gets drunk or gets disinterested and then starts picking guys that have been chosen 3 rounds ago. The rule in the league is if you do that 3 times, you get fined. So I mean, you even get it to do it twice, but it was happening so much I had to put a rule in the league. Or he's gonna get mad at me for this, but good old Stevie Iraq has a propensity to lose his shit when he doesn't think people are playing fairly. And he likes to propose rules in the middle of seasons when he feels like guys aren't treating the rules like the Constitution. So I love you, Steve. But you're the new rule guy. And every time something goes wrong, Mecca does this too. I love you, Tone. But Mecca, if like things are not going his way, or he sees a way that his team could be better, he wants a new rule. Not necessarily, because it looks like it could benefit him. He's going to get mad at me about that, but he loves doing that stuff. The new rule guys. That's not fair. That's not fair. You're not being fair. I want a new rule. It's not fair. He should get fined. He should get thrown out of the league. He's not. I want more players. I want another player because I got good players on my bench and I want to start another flex. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Wah. Wah. So yeah, I would be remiss not to mention some of the more insane rules I had to make over the years. Like if you get your computer hacked rule, you get fined $25. We once had a guy in the league that claimed that this really bad trade that he made 24 hours before, probably when he was fucking on a Saturday night, by the way, about 2 a.m., that he got his computer hacked. He would never have made that trade. And it took like 6 hours, fucking over 2 days to figure out a solution because a second trade was made after that. So we had to back out of all the trades. And, so people get fined now if your computer gets hacked mysteriously. That can't be proven. Or you decided it was a bad trade a day later when you're probably sober. That guy's not in the league anymore, thankfully. Also, a rule that we had to make for a guy that remains in the league, but he felt really bad for his friend who needed a tight end one time. So he gifted him a player for considerations to be named later. Yeah, we don't do that. This is not Major League Baseball. We don't give players for cash or just give players away. You actually have to have consideration for that. Yeah, in the name of a player, a draft pick, or something of value. You need value. You can't just give your friend a player. Steve, I love you. You can't give your buddy a player on a Saturday night when you guys are drinking or playing poker. Remember that? I remember. It's a $25 fine now. Or please stop bringing your girlfriend to the draft rule, which is, I think, a $25 fine as well. If you bring a female to the draft that is actually not involved in the draft, you get fined. The only caveat to that is if she is a adult performer, a dancer. If I can get a lap dance from her, then she is part of the show. If I cannot get a lap dance from her and she's just sitting there to be your eye candy, then she's not allowed, or you have to at least pay us $25. Remember that, Iraq? I know you do. Oh, the other one that good old Bananas did to me the one time. He basically made me throw out his old best friend out of the league because they were mad at each other. We're mad at each other. I don't want to see him one day a year. You gotta pick me or him. You gotta pick me or him. I don't want him in this league. We're mean at each other. We don't speak anymore. Wah. Wah. It's okay. I love you, buddy. You guys are like best friends again, too. After like 10 years. Wah. Wah, I'm so mad. I'm so mad. You're not allowed in the league. Oh, so I had to tell the guy. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. I gave your spot up. Why? Uh, you know, my my grown friend. I don't know, because I didn't hear from you. No, really, why? Because you and Steve were mad at each other. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's. He pulled the fucking friend card. What am I gonna do? I had to pick between a friend and his friend and my friend. I picked my friend. It felt stupid at the time. I told him it was stupid. What am I gonna do? I gave. Oh, that happened. Two grown men. Two grown men over a fantasy football league. That happened. Another rule that came out of all of that stuff is just general rule that if it takes me more than an hour to fix something that you screwed up, that you're getting fined. Because that was like happening a lot. Or some fucking dumb shit that would take an hour to fix. Because these goofballs can't stay out of their way. We've been doing better now that we're in our 40s. We seem to be doing better. I don't know. All right. But that's my little rant and my little fucking jabs at my friends coming up to this fantasy football draft that will be happening next Sunday. And I will have this podcast out before it so they can maybe listen to it and then want to punch me in the face. That'll be wonderful. So, all right. So, on to my Philly sports stuff. So, where am I at with the Philly sports? So, let's talk about the Phillies first. Phillies, pretty excited. They're 13 games above 500 right now. The only thing that annoys me about the Phillies right now is I don't get the whole Kyle Schwarber leading off thing. Again, he's not a quintessential leadoff hitter, like an on-base guy, and I get that if the numbers made sense and he was a low average guy, but he gets on base a lot still with walks and has power numbers and stuff, extra base hits, I get it. But it's not coming to fruition this year. The guy's batting 180. He's second in walks in the league when I did the research earlier this week. But he's also second in strikeouts. Now, again, the batting average would not mean as much because, all right, he's second in walks, right? But he's got a 330 on base percentage. A 330 on base percentage is, 76th in the league. Now, that doesn't make any sense. Again, he's 5th in home runs, 14th in RBIs, and 15th in runs, right? But the 5th in home runs and 14th in RBIs really makes a good case for him to be in the middle of the lineup. He's last in Major League Baseball in qualifying batting average. I mean, he can't be your leadoff hitter. I understand that they're winning when he's there, and maybe it's some psychological advantage. Maybe that's true, but I can't believe they have Bryson Stott there, who is ninth in average. His OBP is only 42nd in the league, but it's still, 40 people better than Schwarber. He's better in OPS. I mean, Stott is better in every category: average, OPS, OBP, slugging percentage, everything. I mean, and he looks like a leadoff hitter. The only thing he doesn't do is he doesn't walk enough, and that's true. But he puts the bat on the ball. He doesn't strike out a ton. He's a great two-strike hitter. I don't understand why he's not leading off, or if Turner leading off. If you want to bat Bohm second, fine. That makes sense to me too, because Turner's hitting again. But Stott, or I wouldn't probably bat Stott second, but you know Turner first, maybe Bohm second, or maybe Stott second. But Kyle Schwarber's a 5 or 6 hitter. I mean, in this lineup, he's probably a 6 or 7 hitter. So I mean, he'd be great down there, and he can get all his RBIs and home runs down there. But it just doesn't make any fucking sense to me why he's a leadoff hitter. He doesn't. Why is that guy getting the most at bats in your lineup? He's not your best hitter. He's just not. He's not your best average hitter. He's not your best on base guy. He's none of it right now. Again, could he be? Yeah, I mean, he walks a lot. I still think he strikes out too much. Strikeouts might be a little bit overrated. I'm old school, but in that way. And I get that, they want guys, contact doesn't mean as much to them now, but you can't be the last in qualifying batting average and 76th in on base percentage and be a leadoff hitter in Major League Baseball. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. So that's the only thing that annoys me. The other thing is, I'm sure people aren't talking as much about it, but 2 weeks ago, people were talking about how Harper was having a bad year. You guys are fucking morons if you think this guy's having a bad year. Again, does he have the power numbers that he normally has? No. But he's 8th in the league in on-base percentage, 18th in OPS, 10th in batting average. And the guy's coming off a fucking major surgery where he couldn't even be in the field for the half of the year. And he missed 30 games or so. And then he came back with still a bad shoulder. And he's hitting. And he's 8th OBP, 18th in OPS, and 10th in batting average coming into this past week. So the guy's not having a bad year. He's having a below Bryce Harper year, probably because he got off to a little bit of a slow start, slow slugging start because of a bad shoulder and missing 30 games. But by far, he is not any part of any problem with the team coming into the past couple of weeks. So anyway, that's the only two things that annoy me about the Phillies, but I'm pretty excited about their proposition. The other thing is the Aaron Nola thing. Again, is Aaron Nola having the same season that he had last year? No. But Aaron Nola is not a bad pitcher. Aaron Nola is, by the way, like top 5 in strikeouts in Phillies history. He's got like one of the most innings pitched in Major League Baseball this year. So he's reliable. His ERA is a little bit high, like just over 4. But his innings pitched are great. His strikeouts are still high. The guy's striking out more than one batter an inning. He's still doing well. The only thing Aaron Nola was struggling, he pitched a lot last year, and he's struggling a little bit with the pitch clock. Changing his rhythm. But otherwise, he's still a very competent pitcher, still a very competent number 2 pitcher in almost any lineup in Major League Baseball. So slow to roll on that, guys. Now on to the 76ers. The 76ers are just a fucking unmitigated mess. And it's frustrating. And their MVP Embiid doesn't get it. He's another fucking crybaby. Kind of like Donovan McNabb was, apparently. They love being They love when the adulation comes, but they can't take any fucking criticism whatsoever, and they point fingers. The exact opposite of the Bryce Harpers and the Jalen Hurts of the world, which is why people love the Phillies and love the Eagles because of the players that they have on there and the guys that take accountability and they just get it. Embiid doesn't get it, but more importantly, really, I don't blame Embiid by any stretch of the imagination. You know, the whole idea of the tanking and the process and all that stuff. The idea of it, conceptually, was a good idea. In basketball, you can't be a mid-range team. You need to have stars. They tried to go out and get stars. The reason why it failed is because they have a horrendous front office and, you know, by extension, a horrendous ownership group that just isn't engaged enough. They failed because they made were bad picks. 2014, let's just start from 2014 when they pick Embiid, right? Then 2015, they go and they pick another center, Jahlil Okafor. You just picked the center of your future, and then you go and pick another center, a guy that's basically, you know, was going to play no D. We knew he wasn't going to play any defense, but he's like a back to the rim player. It made no sense at the time that they picked him. But they had Porzingis right there that gets picked as the power forward, the very next pick. Devin Booker got picked at number 13. But even if you consider like Devin Booker is a little bit, a little bit hindsight 2020. Porzingis was the obvious pick at the time, and they didn't choose him. Then in 2016, you pick Ben Simmons. At Ben Simmons, if you got that one right, if you listen to some of the coaches that said he was lazy and you listen to some of that stuff, again, I don't even care about the Ben Simmons pick because, you know, it was at the time people thought it was a good pick, but you could have picked Brandon Ingram or Jaylen Brown. That went right after him. And Brandon Ingram was talked about as being one of the top pick. So again, it's a little bit hindsight 2020, but Brandon Ingram was in the conversation. 100% was in the conversation. So that's two picks you got wrong right there. And then the worst pick of them all is you get enticed to trade up to get Markelle Fultz, which you could probably have gotten at 3 anyway, because the Celtics were going to pick Jason Tatum. So you go and you trade away picks to move up to get this dude who's had one good year in college and he couldn't shoot. So you have Ben Simmons, who's a guard who can't shoot. Then you go and you draft another guard that can't shoot. Again, if you stay where you are at 3, you either can get Jason Tatum if they don't pick him, which they probably would have, or De'Aaron Fox, who went number 5. I mean, Donovan Mitchell went 13 that same year. But De'Aaron Fox was, if you wanted a point guard, De'Aaron Fox was the guy. So that's 2017. So we got another pick wrong and traded away picks. 2018, again, a fucking disaster. You actually pick Mikal Bridges and you trade him away for a guy that wasn't in the NBA within 2 years. And he was the obvious pick, and there was just no reason to trade him away. No reason to trade him away. 2019, they didn't really have any picks. Nothing. Then 2020, they finally get a pick right. So we got 2014, Embiid, they get it right. 2020, Tyrone Maxey, they get it right. All those picks in between, they fucking blew them all. They blew them all. If they get them right, this is what your lineup looks like. Embiid at center, Porzingis at power forward, Ingram or Jaylen Brown at small forward, Tatum or De'Aaron. Tatum or De'Aaron Fox, right? And Tyrone Maxey. And then Mikal Bridges coming off the bench. Those 6 guys. So Embiid, Porzingis, Ingram or Brown, Tatum or Fox, Maxey, Bridges. They win an NBA championship with that team. I 100% believe it. I don't care who they have as a coach. Probably Brett Brown's still the fucking coach. But they fucked it up. And now, and they fucked up the Ben Simmons thing. And then they go and get an aging star that, pushed himself out of two teams. Now he's going to push himself out of a third team. They already knew everybody knew he was a little bit of a malcontent, and that he wasn't into training anymore, and he wanted to be out of strip clubs. Listen, I love strip clubs too, but you don't pay guys, $40-50 million that don't want to train, and they're aging stars in a very athletic league. So now they're stuck, and who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But they're pretty hard. They're pretty hard to watch. They're pretty hard to root for. Again, Embiid's out there with his passive aggressive shit going on now on the internet, and they lose again in the second round. And what does he say? Well, I can't do everything. It doesn't take any. He was a piece of shit in that series, and takes no responsibility. Instead of saying I got to be better, I got to do better, he takes basically no fucking responsibility. And me and James can't do it all. Is what he said. That's just such bullshit. It's just such fucking small-minded shit. I mean, that's why you gotta love. That's why people in Philly love guys like Jalen Hurts, because he's never going to shy away. He's always going to take the blame. He just gets it. Bryce Harper gets it. Jason Kelsey gets it. Those types of guys that just fucking get it. They get, the people here appreciate hard work. They appreciate, self-awareness and honesty. And they just want to know that you give as much a shit about it as they do. They don't want that fucking aloof attitude and you fucking the pointing the finger shit. They hate it. Not here. That's not the place for it. It may be other places, but you're not going to survive here if you do that. But people will give you the benefit of the doubt, a la Trey Turner, what just happened with Trey Turner, with people giving him standing ovations because the kid looked like he was ready to fucking jump off a bridge because he cared so much, and he really wanted to do better. And it became obvious, and then he just needed a push, and the Philly fans stood up for him. That's the kind of guy that we like here. Anyway, I'm done with my Sixers crying rant, but I who knows? I mean, it looks like they got to blow it up again. I don't know. I mean, maybe next year they'll have cap space again, but this looks like a lost year. But then next year they got to get it right again. But do you trust anybody in the administration and the Sixers to get it right? I don't. All right, let's talk about a good one. The Eagles, coming off a Super Bowl run. Almost everybody says they have the best or maybe second best roster in football. I mean, they are everything right now that you want in an organization, right? They draft well. They manage the cap well. They find ways to add guys late. It looks like they're setting up for a long run. Weaknesses? What kind of weaknesses do they have? Third receiver, probably. Quez Watkins, not sold on him. But, if you're worried about your third receiver, you're probably in pretty good shape. They reinvigorated the running back room. That looks good. Right guard, they lost their starting right guard. They got the Cam Jurgens, who's apparently undersized, but he's athletic. So maybe that's a little bit of a question mark, but they seem to be confident about him. Punter's certainly a question mark. Aaron Sippis, I don't know. It's still open. He was pretty terrible in the Super Bowl last year. Not good all year. That's a problem. And then linebacker and safety are probably the two legitimate, concerns. But they did try to. They have Zach Cunningham now. In the middle, they added him. We'll see how that works out. Who knows? They Reed Blankenship. I don't know who's going to be the second starting safety, Sidney Brown, maybe. But so that's probably, I mean, safety is probably the biggest concern, I guess. But again, they're deep. They're deep, deep, deep on the defensive line. They drafted well again this year. It looks like the two kids they drafted are going to be really good. Their offensive line is fantastic. They got two great wide receivers, a very good tight end, good depth in the backfield. Their offense really should be dynamic, and defense should be. They got both corners back. And a really good defensive line. So hopefully the safeties hold up. I mean, that's my biggest concern, I guess. But I would be surprised if the Eagles didn't make a run to at least to the NFC Championship. I would expect them to win the division again. I mean, Cowboys are good, but they have Dak Prescott who likes to lose playoff games. So I'm not all that concerned with them. I am concerned about the 49ers, although we'll see how Brock Purdy holds up in his second year. They just traded away Trey Lance to the Cowboys. That's an interesting trade. So we'll see what happens. But I'm not, other than the 49ers and potentially the Cowboys, and who else in the NFC is any good? Um, you know, other than the Eagles do have a tough schedule this year, though. The Bills away at the Chiefs. They play a lot of good teams, and they go on a run. They go on a run in the middle of the season where they got like the Chiefs. I think Chiefs, Cowboys, and Bills like back to back to back, which is really really a tough road. And like 49ers are mixed in there too, so that's a tough road. I guess that'll really determine how high in the standings they are. But I would expect them. I would expect them to be. I don't know about the top seed. That might be too much to ask with the type of schedule that they have. But I expect them to win the division and to make a run. I would be surprised if they didn't. I also don't. I also expected the Phillies to at least go to. You know, they're going to win round one. I think the Dodgers and Atlanta are better overall teams, but I do think that the Phillies again could take them in those short series because they don't need the fourth and fifth pitchers. So, you steal one away and the whole series changes, and they do have some mojo. The team does have mojo. I mean, they show up in big games. They've done it time in and time out over the last year and a half. They really have. So we'll see. Soccer, I don't know. I can't really get into this soccer thing here. I want to. I like the game. I know it's hard. I like watching like the international tournaments, but I can't get into MLS soccer. It's just not good soccer. Like it's like minor league soccer. Not that I know that much about it, but it's just not any like any level in the international community. I don't know. Messi came in here and just fucking torched us, and he's one guy. Like it's just, we're not on that level yet. Maybe if we can get some of these European players over here and to make it like a real league, not like, I feel like it's like the fourth level, third or fourth level of English soccer is basically what it is. So it just doesn't interest me enough. Although the games I know are fun to go to. I'm sure that whole atmosphere is kind of fun, but the game itself, bleh, you know, which is sort of where I am with hockey too. I mean, I used to be a really big hockey fan as a kid, but as a kid, the Flyers were always relevant all through the 80s into the early to mid 90s. Um, but the Flyers have been terrible, terrible for a long time. They had a run to the Stanley Cup in 2010. They were good in 11, okay in 2012, and then basically have sucked for 10 years. They haven't won a playoff game. They haven't won a playoff series since 2012, which is the longest streak they ever had. From 90 to 94, they had 5 consecutive years without playoffs. But right now is the worst time in the Flyers' history. Ed Snyder basically, ran ran until he died, and that was too long, and he had too much allegiance to these guys that were part of his team, and which is admirable in some ways, but like this old school mentality. He missed the boat on a lot of the European players through the late '90s and 2000s, and they just have been a shit show. Certainly a shit show ever since Snyder sold them. And they have different, they have different people running it. I do have some hope with Briere and Jones running the show now. They seem to be doing the right thing, to sort of like the tanking thing, to restart and to try to get younger and get out from all these fucking horrendous contracts that they had. So maybe I'll start watching it again. I'll probably start watching it again, just to see if there's any energy. Hopefully, like they'll have a lot of young kids, and at least be some fucking energy. But they've been so horrendous for so long that it's just hard to to take any take any of my time to watch it. I used to love just going to games, because if there's any game that is worth seeing live, it's hockey, because it just doesn't translate the same on TV. You don't see how fast it is and how skillful these guys are. There's no way to, the best way to see it is definitely live, more than any other sport. It just doesn't translate the same way on TV. But I just I can't do it. I'll give them a chance early in the season, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, hopefully they'll at least have some spunk, All right. So that's all I have for now. My sports and fantasy football podcast. I won't do this that often, but I thought because of this time of year, it'd be good for me to a little bit talk about it. I might talk a little bit about me making the decision to go back to baseball. I took off this year, and I just told the guys, I asked them if I can come and play with them in the fall and in the summer. So maybe I'll talk about that another time. I don't really want to talk about it now, but just a little teaser for the future, my thought process on why I want to come back. But for now, I'm out. See you next time. Hey, then I think my next podcast, I'm going to talk about things that make me happy. I'll call it the Happy Dave podcast or something, because I do talk about shit that anger me a lot. So I thought maybe, I actually do have good things in my life and that make me happy. Maybe you might want to hear about that. But till next time, I'm out. Peace.